Today we're talking about pyramids, cones, and spheres, so we're still talking about 3D shapes, specifically some surface area and volume with them. So, first one we're going to tackle are the pyramids. Pyramids, for the volume, it's real simple. It goes off of our prism formula. The only difference is the fact that it's 1/3 of the base area times the height. So you'll see this written sometime as 1/3 big B times H, right? That's your volume. Surface area gets a little bit trickier, and we've got something new in this formula. Right here, that fancy L there is called our slant height. Okay? And that's kind of measured along the side of it. It kind of makes sense. It's the slant height. It's kind of slanted down the side of the pyramid. So the surface area formula is, again, our base area plus 1/2 the perimeter of the base times the slant height. So let's practice that in this first example. First thing I want to find is volume. So real simple, right? Got to find the base area first. The base, I always like to trace my bases, is a square 22 by 22. So big B is 22 times 22, which gets me 484. Okay. Now, I'm actually going to take that, and I'm going to swing it right down here. Because like what we did with the prisms and the cylinders, I'm actually going to use this both for surface area and for volume. Okay? So the fact that big B, the area of my base, is 484, it's going to help me 2 times. That's why I do it first. Okay. Volume equals 1/3 the base area, which I already found, of 484, times the height, which is represented as a straight up and down height perpendicular to a base. That's what I use for volume, and that is 18 in this case. And when I plug that in my calculator, I get a volume of 2,904, and I do that in centimeters cubed. Awesome. Volume, done. Surface area, next. The area of my base, which again, I already found is 484. So 484 plus 1/2 the perimeter, and that's talking perimeter of my base. Well, my base is 22, 22, 22, 22. That's a perimeter of 88 times. Now I realize, oh shoot, I need my slant height, and I don't have it. I've got my normal height, but I don't have, oh geez, let me fix this. I've got my normal height, but I don't have my slant height, so I need to find it. Really quick, a little side problem here. This is a right triangle. The part I'm tracing right now, that's your slant height. So pulling that separately, my regular height straight up and down is 18. This is my slant height here. It's a right triangle. And the bottom of this right triangle I drew is actually 11. Okay? So you might know, you might be calling out here, if I got a right triangle, I know 2 sides. To find the third side, you do Pythagorean theorem. And if you do Pythagorean theorem, I'll save the time and just tell you, you would get 21.095. That is your slant height. So take that and plug it in for slant height of 21.095. And just like we did before, plug all of that into your calculator all together. You get 1,412.18 centimeters squared. That is your surface area. Boom. Okay. So a little bit of math involved, but a lot of it is just remembering those formulas and knowing how to use them. Next one's a cone, and it's very similar to the pyramid that we just did. So, same exact volume formula, but the only difference, the base of a cone is a circle. So this base area is our area of a circle, which is pi r squared. So you may see this formula as 1/3 pi r squared times h. Same thing, right? Now, the surface area is a little different, but really, if you think about it, it's back to the same thing. Pi r squared is the area of our base, plus pi r L, okay? This is the same idea as 1/2 of the perimeter times slant height, okay? The only difference, 1/2 the perimeter is represented by pi r, and L is our slant height. Okay, let's use them. Volume and surface area. First thing I always want to do, always find that base area. So big B, my base is a circle with a radius of 3. So the area of a circle is pi r squared, pi 3 squared, which is 9 pi. Awesome. I got that. Again, I'm going to use that both for volume over here and surface area over here. So it's nice to get that out of the way first. Okay. Volume. 1/3 base area times the height. 1/3. The base area I already got as 9 pi times the height. And I'm looking for the height, and I don't see it. It's not there. So again, like we did last time, think of that right triangle. I'm going to draw it right up here. This is 3. This is 5. This is my height right here. Any idea what h is going to be?
4, Mr. Compton?
It is 4. Good. This is our 3, 4, 5 right triangle. If you didn't notice that, that's okay. You can do Pythagorean theorem again, but you would get, very good job, Omar, a height of 4. Beautiful. Plug that all in, you would get 12 pi, or it's something like 28 or something like that. But 12 pi meters cubed works perfect. Sweet. Okay, on to surface area. Plug everything in you know. Okay, again, this is your base area, pi r squared. So I'm going to say, all right, surface area equals 9 pi, my radius squared, right? Plus pi times the radius, which is 3, times the height, which is 5, the slant height. L there is slant height, which goes that way. So 9 pi plus 3 times 5 is 15. 15 pi gets me 24 pi meters squared. All right. And that's our cone, right? Same kind of idea. You might have to find a different height depending on volume and formula, volume or surface area, but it's the same kind of idea. Plug through the formula, work it out. Our last one, and I think a little funky, but it's the easiest one because you only have to take one thing into account. Bless you. The only thing you need to worry about for a sphere is the radius, okay? You don't have a height, you don't have a base area, you don't have anything, you just have a radius. And the volume is 4/3 pi r cubed. Don't forget that's cubed, right? Surface area is 4 pi r squared. There's some great videos to kind of derive these formulas. Maybe I'll link them here if I figure out how to do that. All right? So, quick example, really quick here. Volume equals, my radius is 9, so 4/3 pi 9 cubed. Don't forget cubed for volume. All right? Because remember, that's like the first time we're really doing radius cubed. So look out for it. And you would get either 972 pi or 30,053.6, and that would be in centimeters cubed. Either one of those two answers works perfectly well. And notice, I'm not doing anything with the base because it's a sphere. There is no base. It's a ball, you know? Next one, same thing. Radius is 9, so my surface area is 4 pi 9 squared. Okay, surface area squared, which would get me 324 pi or 1017.9, and the unit there is centimeters squared. Either one of those answers also works. All right, we got our 3 final shapes. We're gonna talk about a little composite figures and then be done from there. But before we do that, really important update. We talked about volume and surface area of tents, so I figured I'd talk to you a little bit about some fun facts about campgrounds. Did you know, true fact, you can't run through a campground? Do you know why? You can only ran because it's past tense. Past tense, you did it in the past. Oh, so good. One more. I went on a camping trip this past weekend, and dude, that camping trip was intense. Intense? Get it?
That's good.
That's good, that's good. And one more throwback, you know, due to popular demand, people loved it so much. So, Question is, what happens when you cut a prism in half? All the prismers escape. Oh, it gets better every time I tell it. All the prismers. So good. Okay, last thing I want to talk about with you guys is composite figures. So here's where it's important to know more than just the formulas, but actually what they mean. So it's more than just memorizing. Our first example here, when finding surface area of this composite figure, it's a couple shapes put together, right? You need the surface area of a sphere, but then you divide that in half because it's half of that, okay? The cylinder then, you want the surface area of the whole cylinder, but you realize that the top base of the cylinder is not actually exposed, therefore it's not actually part of your surface area. Therefore, instead of two of the bases, you really just want one base, okay? So it's about piecing these together and figuring it out. Bless you again. Composite figures. So first one, find the volume of the composite figure below. All right, volume is pretty easy because you just find the volumes and you put them together. Paul. All right, guys, and like I said, to find the volume of the composite figures, it's fairly simple, right? You just find the volume of each piece separately and you combine it together. So first thing I want to find is the volume of this top part, which I recognize as a cone. And the volume of a cone is 1/3 the base area, which is pi r squared, or 49 pi, times the height, which is 7. And that I'm given. It's that straight up and down height, because that's what you use when finding the volume. And if I plug that right in, you could leave it in terms of pi, but you get kind of a funky decimal. Instead, I'm going to put it into straight decimal form, which is 359.2. All right. That's the top part. That's my cone. And now I've got to find the volume of the cylinder beneath it. Okay? The volume formula for a cylinder is pi r squared times the height. So, pi, my radius squared is 7 squared times the height. And my height is represented right here along the side of the cylinder as 6. Again, I'm going to plug that straight into my calculator, get the decimal form of 923.6. And the last thing I have to do, the volume of the whole thing, I combine this and this together. So 359.2 plus 923.6 gets me a total of 1,282.8, and my unit is feet cubed. Okay. So volume, again, fairly straightforward, all right? Find the volume of each atom together. Surface area is where it gets a little bit trickier, and this is where you have to really know what your formula means. So I've got a pyramid on top of a prism here. So my first part I'm going to look at is that pyramid up top. And I want to find the surface area, in other words, the part that's exposed of just that pyramid. And notice, if I found the surface area of the whole pyramid, I'd be including the base here, which is really not a part of the surface of this shape. So from my formula, I look at that and I realize I can just get rid of that base. I don't need to find that at all. So really the surface area of the pyramid, what I'm worried about is just the 1/2 perimeter of it, and it's a 4x4 square. So the perimeter of that is 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, or 16, times the slant height, which I'm given going down the side of it, which is 5. Plug that in and you get 40. All right, that's the top part. Now, break it down and look at the bottom, which is a prism here. Surface area being 2 times the base plus the perimeter of the base times the height. So, looking through, I know that I want, let's change colors, I want the surface area of the whole prism, but I realize again, this top base essentially is being covered up by the pyramid, so that's not included. So going to my formula, instead of 2 bases, I really only have 1. My base area being 4x4 or 16, so plug in the formula, instead of 2 bases again, I just have the 1, plus the perimeter of the base happens to also be 16, times the height, which is the height of my prism, or the distance between the 2 bases I've chosen, which is 6. So 16 plus 16 times 6 is 112. And the last thing I want to do is take this plus this Find the sum of them, and I'm done. 40 plus 112 gets me 152, unit being centimeters squared. Awesome. So surface area, again, takes a little more thinking. You got to know what exactly the formula represents and how to adjust it. Last one I'm going to leave you guys is this little ice cream cone here. So to find the volume and surface area, remember, how are you going to kind of tweak the formula? It's a hemisphere up top, meaning half a sphere. So find the volume of the whole thing, divided by 2. The cone, yeah, you want the whole thing, so you find the volume of the entire thing, add those two together. Surface area of the sphere, again, it's only half a sphere, so you divide it by 2. And the last thing down here, the cone, that base is getting covered up. So don't worry about the base. All right? Try to figure out those answers. Come in with them to class tomorrow. Good work. See ya.